Hey,
My
Sean.
fault. Yeah, sorry about that. My fault.
No, you're good. I'm just glad that we could actually figure out like what happened there. Because I was gonna say I was gonna disconnect the retriever from my mic and just do the headphone mic, which
Oh
kind of
yeah,
sucks. But
it was on my end.
okay, good. Yeah. Sorry about that, folks. We're trying to do a segment here on baseball and other things, and it just keeps malfunctioning. But yeah, we were talking about the Mets and the off season and what we see them doing. We talked about Otani, um, and then we talked a little bit about how I was kind of surprised that the Mets didn't go after Judge, because he's really the power bat that the Mets really needed, but they had a lot of outfielders that they would have to get rid of first to make that happen. Um, and what else did we talk about? Just Otani's pending free agency, the Yankees' slow start. And right before it got cut off, I was talking about how, yeah, it's very cynical about how the Yankees started this season. It just seemed like a very kind of like similar team. I mean, they re-signed Judge and they got Rodon, but Rodon's the type of guy who has a lot of injuries in his history, and it just didn't seem like they really um, brought a lot to the lineup, except for like Aaron Judge. But I started to see the Yankees' potential with calling up a guy like Volpe and getting a little bit younger. Um, but they didn't really do much. And how do you feel about the Yankees' slow start and where they're at right now?
Well, what I think really was the issue with the slow start, right, was they needed everybody that was healthy to start the season to stay healthy, and that quite frankly didn't happen. They lost Aaron Judge, and that was going into a pretty tough stretch, and they struggled straight up. Like, it's hard to win when you've already got some injuries, and then you lose your best player. I mean, if you trot out that team a whole season, the Yankees aren't a contending team at all. I mean, you're just not going to win a ton of games when you're playing Jake Bowers, Willie Calhoun, and Franchi Cordero a ton. You're not going to win a lot of games if you're starting Johnny Brito or Clark Schmidt all the time. That's going to be a problem long term. So I think what happened was the team just started to get healthy. Judge got back and has not missed a beat. Um, I know they're without Stanton, but DJ LeMahieu has not missed a beat. He's doing really good. Well, he's slumping right now, but he started out really strong. He's in around 260. Glaber's been decent. Volpe, even though he's had his growing pains, been a little up and down. Rizzo's been a monster this season.
Oh yeah,
Bader is back. I knew I was thinking of somebody else that got back. Harrison Bader's back, healthy now. So you get two big pieces back in the lineup: a spark plug and a middle of the order bat. And now Severino's healthy. He looks good. So right now, I'm a lot more optimistic now than I was a couple weeks ago because, quite frankly, the team is just healthy now, like mostly healthy. I mean, there's still, we're still waiting on Rodon. Stanton coming back would be nice. I think I speak for a lot of Yankee fans when they say they could not care less if Josh Donaldson gets back.
yeah, absolutely. I don't care. Um, you know, the thing about Donaldson is he brings some value defensively, but you really got him for the bat. You know?
Do you think that the Yankees, like, because the fact that he's had now two different setbacks, played a couple rehab games and then was out again, and now it's another setback because apparently he cut his hand doing something. Do you think by any chance this is an Ellsbury situation where they just don't want him back and they're going to find any little excuse to not bring him back?
Yeah, definitely, possibly. Yeah, like I think and you could see a similar outcome too. A lot of people.
Because, yeah, they can just and I'm sorry I cut you off, but
No, no, no.
with the contract, if there's an insurance clause, they would save the money if he doesn't come back. Like it'd be better than just giving him his release. I'm sure if the situation with Hicks was that Hicks got injured and they could have kept him on the IL for an extended time, they would have did that instead of outright releasing him because they could have collected insurance.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I definitely see like a similar outcome happening because he doesn't bring any value to this team.
No, and they don't need. Like I know you were saying that he's got a good glove, but right now they're using LeMahieu at third,
That's true.
and you would think that the team would like to find a roster spot for Oswald Peraza. So, is there really a need for Donaldson in any way? Because if somebody gets hurt, I think you'd rather just have Peraza step in there than bring back Donaldson.
Absolutely, I would rather have Peraza. And I was happy to see the Yankees experimenting with Peraza at third base at one point in the season when he was up before the injury. Because I always looked at Peraza, he's always looked like a third baseman to me.
I mean, he's a definite shortstop defensively because of the glove. He's a terrific defender. He's a little stocky, but his footwork is amazing. And
Yep.
it just comes down to the organization loves Volpe. They were always going to favor Volpe because he was the better prospect. And Volpe, it's funny. A lot of people were talking about how they weren't sure about the defense at short, when the defense has honestly been the strongest aspect of his game because he's been really solid at shortstop and his arm looks fine. Like the guy could play a really good shortstop.
His arm is just fine. Yeah, absolutely. I read an article on the Athletic about I think 2 years now. It's crazy. But it mentioned how Volpe practiced this thing called biomechanics, and hitters use it too for like their launch angles and stuff like that, and pitchers use it I think too. And Volpe actually used it for his arm strength, and I think he benefited from it a lot.
Yeah, that would make sense. With regard to defense, right? And this is something that I've noticed a lot. A lot of times people will get defense wrong when it comes to evaluating minor leaguers
Yep.
because if you remember, Jorge Mateo was always regarded as a guy who wasn't a good defender. Everyone used to say he's not a good defender at short. He's going to have to be moved off the position. And he's turned into one of the best defensive shortstops in the entire league.
Yep. That's
I
right.
think what it comes down to is that I've always said I think defensive metrics, as far as the numbers go, are not the greatest, especially at the big league level. They're even less so in the minor leagues because I don't think they really, I don't know, I don't think they really are that reliable for minor leaguers. Like, the only thing that you could go by is really the naked eye. And with minor league players, and this is just what I always say about players that maybe aren't the best in the minors and go off in the majors, players get better. It's very simple. Players improve. Like, just because a guy is one thing in the minors doesn't mean he's going to be that in the majors. Just because a player struggles with one thing in the minors doesn't mean that in the majors it's going to be a problem. The minor leagues is so that you can, address those problems before you get to the bigs.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there was a lot missed in some of these scouting reports. People just focused on the range type of thing. They didn't focus on the scouting reports that actually said that he fielded the ball just fine. His release was fast enough. He had smooth hands. He was a very smart, defensive player. They just focused on that one thing.
I wouldn't be surprised if the range wasn't the greatest, and I think it probably was the footwork, but he probably
Yeah.
fixed that, as he got up to the higher levels, they probably worked with him on the footwork because that would
Yep.
make sense because he's got the speed. It's not the inability to get to the ball, but for a lot of players, it's the footwork. Range is something that if you have speed, you can fix not so great range by just fixing the footwork. They probably That's probably what they did was fix his footwork. Because if you look at his footwork, it's just fine. And he's a plus defender. He's a plus defender that has some speed, has a good arm, and his glove work is solid.
Yep. It definitely is. I think he brings another dynamic to the Yankees lineup, not just hitting wise, because he's got a lot of pop, very sneaky pop, but on the bases, like that's something the Yankees like really lacked. It's good base runners, you know?
Oh, I think for sure the best base stealer on the team is Volpe.
Oh yeah, for sure. And that's why, like, I kind of want Raza to come up and play because he's another guy that will be a base stealing threat.
Yeah, I just think with Peraza, they right now don't have a spot for him because
No.
shortstop is Volpe, third base is DJ, second base is Torres, and you're not gonna play him at first, and that's Rizzo's spot. So there's not really a spot for him. I mean, the only spot I think you could have gone with is you could have maybe put DJ at DH. Like that's
Which
the
isn't
only
a
thing
bad
I could.
idea.
I'm trying to think right now who's the DH of the team. It's I mean they're kind of rotating at DH right now because they've got Cabrera playing a lot of the games and he's kind of roaming around giving guys day. They're using the DH to give guys a day off, it seems.
Yeah.
Because they're using a lot of Cabrera, they're using a lot of IKF, they're using a lot of Jake Bowers. Like that's kind of what they're doing with those three spots is kind of rotating between those. Well, those two spots, I'm sorry, left field and DH. They're kind of using three players for two spots. I'm hoping they use a little bit more of Greg Allen because right now Bowers is not hitting at all, and Greg Allen brings a lot of speed and a lot of contact.
I agree. I like Greg Allen. I really think it was a very incremental move, but it was just a really good move at the same time because he can bring you a lot on the bases, plays good defense, and he hit a little bit with the Yankees. Uh, was it last year?
2 years ago, 2021.
2 years ago.
Yeah,
Okay.
because he was with the Pirates last year, remember?
Oh yeah, that's right.
He didn't hit much in Pittsburgh, but I think number one, they were using him a little bit more as an everyday type. And two, he didn't have any lineup protection. I don't think Allen is a guy that's going to emerge as an everyday type of player. I
No,
mean,
absolutely not.
he's not that type of a player, but he's a good enough fourth outfielder that's going to give you speed and defense and make a little contact here and there. And he'll, maybe stretch a single into a double. He'll have a good first to third. You can use him as a pinch runner late in the games, which is something the team is missing. And more importantly than not, he's at an age where he's 30 years old, so he's just happy to be in the league. So he knows his role. He's not going to complain that he's a fourth outfielder, which was kind of the problem with Hicks, was that Hicks, it seemed like, did not accept the role of being a fourth outfielder. He wasn't happy with it. And it was time for him to go. Even though I will say I thought his final week he looked pretty good. He was hitting the ball pretty well that week. A little bit of pop. Like he had a pretty solid last week, but I think at this point, and I don't think Hicks is done by any means. Sorry about that stutter. I don't
No,
think
good.
Hicks is by any means done. I think someone will give him a shot, but he's gonna have to accept the reality that he's a fourth outfielder. He's not somebody that you use every day.
And I think it's just that, Sean. Like I think they were just like looking at in terms of you know what kind of value Hicks brings you and what kind of value um, Greg Allen brings you, and Greg Allen just brings you the same amount of value as Aaron Hicks does, if not more.
I at this point I think it's more because with regard to Hicks, I'm not trying to imply that like Hicks was a bad guy in the clubhouse or that he was a cancer in the clubhouse or anything. What I'm saying is that with the situation, to go from being an everyday guy on a team to a fourth outfielder, to have the fans basically turn their back on you the way they did with Hicks, where every time you play a home game and you strike out or something, you're getting booed out of the stadium. I mean, he knows what's going on. He knows what the fans are saying. He knows just kind of where he stands on this team. And to see where you're the center fielder and they bring in Bader, you kind of know where you stand on this team. You know that they don't have faith in you anymore. It was one of those things where it was very beneficial to both sides to just end the relationship. Hicks needs to go play somewhere else. Like if he's gonna bounce back, it's not gonna happen here. And for the Yankees, Hicks just doesn't offer anything that this team needs anymore.
Yeah, I completely
it
agree.
was beneficial for both sides to just end it, move on. And the only reason I think they were waiting so long was number one, it's never easy to eat $28 million or $30 million for nothing. But also with all the injuries, I think that bought him some extra time on the roster.
Yep.
You can't cut a guy when you've got injuries in the outfield and you don't have anybody else that can play.
Yep. Absolutely. And I think it comes down to like Greg Allen is going to be a placeholder for something else at some point.
I wouldn't say that. I think he's pretty much solidified on the bench. Unless he's going to be playing regularly in left field, then I would say, yeah, that's a placeholder for sure.
I'm not even thinking about Stanton. I completely forget. Yeah, Stanton's going to be playing the other corner outfield spot, but what am I thinking? I need some coffee.
I think it's gonna end up being. It depends what happens, but it might be Jake Bauers that gets optioned back to AAA because. I mean, let's be real. Greg Allen's a far better defender than Jake Bauers. He makes more contact than Bauers. He has speed, which is something. Remember, Bauers is not a natural outfielder. He's a natural first baseman. The only thing I will say is that Bauers has some pop, but he gets overmatched on anything over 95 miles an hour, and I'm not sure he can hit good left-handed pitching. So
that's a good point, and that's not good.
I don't think Bauers is anything more than a bench piece. And if you have Peraza coming up, you have Greg Allen now on the team. You're gonna have Stanton coming back. You have IKF, who's more, about the same level of a defender in left as Bauers, with the ability to also play center field and more contact. I think Bauers is probably the odd man out once Stanton comes back. Because I would, just looking at it, Greg Allen has that value of come playoff time, he could be the designated runner. And he's a better designated runner than, Tim LeCastro was the last 2 years.
Yep.
I know I used to always defend LeCastro because I thought he could fill that role. But Greg Allen does a lot more than just run because he can play good defense and he hits a little bit.
Yeah, I put more trust in Greg Allen getting a hit at the bottom of our order than Tim LeCastro.
Yeah, me too. And I think at least the way I look at it is if you're going to be a light-hitting, bench player, it probably is more of an advantage to be a lefty than a righty because at least you'll have the platoon advantage every time. Because you're not going to use Greg Allen against tough lefties. You're just not going to do that.
Yeah.
You're probably going to keep him away from most left-handed pitching. You can't do that with Tim LeCastro because he's a righty, and he's going to have the disadvantage more often than not. And as far as, like, a bench player goes, I would rather have IKF than Tim LeCastro because at least IKF's going to put the bat on the ball.
Yep. You know,
So
I
yeah,
said
that's where I'm
early on
at
I'm
with
not a
Allen.
big IKF fan, but I think he brings a lot of versatility to this roster, especially with Cabrera just kind of trying to figure things out.
Yeah, I think IKF's a guy that probably is better as a utility player. If he's gonna play every day anywhere on a team, it has to be at third base because it's obvious that's where he's most comfortable. Defensively, he excels at third. And if you've noticed, every time he's played third base and he's in the lineup, he hits better. He
Yep.
hits much better when he's playing third base. And I think what it comes down to is when you're comfortable defensively, you don't have to worry as much about your bat because you're comfortable. Or I should say, if you don't have to worry as much about defense because you're comfortable, you can focus a little bit more on the bat. And he works as a third baseman. I just think that you're not going to put him at third because you have DJ at third, unless you want to give DJ a day off, or you're going to give Rizzo a day off and DJ goes to first, or you give Torres a day off and put DJ at second. Those are the times you use IKF at third. But yeah, Cabrera's still going through some growing pains. I don't feel like it's a situation of Cabrera is a clear upgrade. I do think long term Cabrera probably will be, but short term, I just feel like I'd rather still have a guy who has it figured out at the plate and knows, kind of knows, not necessarily knows what he's doing, but knows the league. He knows the league. He's comfortable in the league. He's not trying to get his footing in the league. Having that with Cabrera, I just think makes sense. So I would personally, I've heard a lot of Yankee fans say now let's DFA IKF next. I would not. I would probably have him here the rest of the season.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to DFA IKF because the thing about Cabrera is there's a little bit of swing and miss, and he's still trying to figure things up at the plate. And I think the problem with him is, and they mentioned this, the broadcast team, they said that he's with a lot of his swings, he hasn't been like really trying too hard to. I don't. He's hitting the ball into the ground way too much, and he wants to elevate the ball more. And I've seen that a lot with Cabrera because he was early on hitting the ball into the ground a lot. But I've seen some things in some games. He's made some in-game adjustments where he's elevating the ball a little bit more. I didn't really watch a lot of the game today. I missed some of it. There were some things I had to do, but uh, how did Cabrera do today? Do you know?
I don't even think he played today.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think he was in the lineup today because they had IKF in left field today, so he wasn't out
That's right.
there at all today. They had Bader in center. They had IKF in left, Judge in right, and the infield was the usual guys. So he didn't even play at all today. And yesterday he went 0 for 3. So kind of
Okay.
is what it is. He has been a little bit better the last 15 games, but he's still only hitting 213 in that stretch. So I do think there's kind of like, okay, he's hitting a little bit better, but you still see that he's not where where you need him to be. Um, he's only hitting 203 on the season. That's just not good enough. Right now, they need more out of Cabrera. Like, I'll be the first to say that the Yankees, if they're gonna use Cabrera in a significant role this year, they're gonna need more. I was hoping around 250 with maybe a 300, 320 on base at most with some slugging, like 10 homers. That would have been to me a fine season. But yeah, 203 is just not, it's just not cutting it.
No, and I think that's why they brought up Jack Bowers. But you just can't have. I don't think the Yankees can afford to have this guy keep playing the outfield.
I don't think so either. I don't think Bowers is anything special. I like the swing. Don't get me wrong; it's a very smooth swing.
Yep.
but I also think that it's a kind of a long swing, and he's getting exposed. Like, you're seeing why Jake Bauers has not stuck in this league. It's the inability to get around on a really good fastball. Like, his issue is not the breaking ball. He's the reverse Franchi Cordero. It's the reverse Franchi, where Franchi could crush a fastball, but you give him anything that moves, and he's got no idea what to do. He is lost.
Yep.
With Bowers, it's the opposite. You hang a breaking ball, he's going to crush it. You leave a fastball over the plate that's 92, 93, he's going to hit it a long way. But you give him some high heat, up and in, 96, 97. He's going to be behind on that thing.
Yeah, and see, you can't have that at this type of level, because every guy seems to throw like 97 and up.
I feel like Jake Bauers is one of those hitters that in Japan or in Korea where they wouldn't throw as hard, where it's more of a finesse style of pitching, I think he would tear that league apart. Like, because he's got power. And you saw what he did in the minor leagues. You saw what he did the first couple games when the league hadn't really seen him. He crushed the ball. I mean, to be fair, one of those home runs was against Oakland, which basically is a AAA team. It looked as though, it also looks as if he hits really well at Yankee Stadium, but put him on the road, he doesn't. So maybe the ballpark is a help. Like, he's better at Yankee Stadium, but I do think it's not really a home and away thing. Although Yankee Stadium, I'm sure, does benefit him. I think it's more of that first week it was at home. The Yankees were home that week, and those pitchers just didn't really know him. And some of those games were against Oakland.
Yep.
But yeah, the league wasn't really that familiar with him, and now it seems like the book is out on Bowers, where it's okay, just throw heat. He can hit the breaking ball just fine. Just throw straight heat.
Yep. Completely agree. I saw him a little bit with the Guardians a couple of years ago, right? He was with the Guardians at one point.
Yeah, he was with Cleveland.
Yeah. And then I think he played for the Rays.
Yeah, he was with Tampa and Cleveland. I think he started his career in Tampa and then went to Cleveland. Because I remember a lot of people were surprised that Tampa Bay was giving up on Bowers at the age of 22. Because he was he was an analytics darling, and they thought that was like the Tampa Bay type of player, and they traded him. Which I remember that was taken. It was taken as a surprise. A lot of people. Well, that was the deal that got them Yandy Diaz, so I'm pretty sure they're happy they made that trade.
Oh yeah, I think my friend Tony would testify to that.
Yeah, Tampa Bay really reworked his swing. Because Yandy Diaz always had good hard hit rates, but he was always hitting the ball into the ground because he's got, or at least when he started, he had more of a, not an uppercut, but the opposite of an uppercut. Like, he would kind of chop down on the ball. And they taught him how to uppercut a little bit more. And now he's hitting for power. Like, it was never that he couldn't hit for power, because I remember I was talking to James once, and he liked Diaz.
Yep.
And he had said that he has more power than you think because he's hitting the ball hard. Like, his barrels percentages are really good, but he's just hitting the ball on the ground. And now you look what he's doing with Tampa, and he's elevating everything. So now he's hitting home runs. And it was kind of like one of those things where when they got him, that immediately started, because he had one home run in 88 games with Cleveland. His first year with Tampa in 2019, he had 14. 2020 in 34 games, he had 2. 21, he had 13 in 134. Last year, he had 9 in 137, but he did have 33 doubles. So he wasn't a home run hitter, but he was a doubles hitter. But now he's hitting less doubles, but now he's just hitting home runs.
Yeah, I mean, the Rays have been a surprise. Not a surprise in the sense that they're competitive this year, because every year they're competitive, and they do things in kind of an unconventional way, but they always seem to figure things out and always seem to outsmart a lot of front offices.
I mean, their strength is that they're able to find players that have certain strengths, and they're able to develop based on that strength. I mean, look, Christian Betancourt, I always felt like was a backup catcher. He's doing really good because they're platooning him with Mejia. They're kind of using that as a bit of a platoon. Diaz, they fixed the swing by elevating it. Wander Franco's just a stud. They found Isaac Paredes, who I think Detroit kind of gave up a little bit. I think they gave up on him a little too soon. They found a Rosarena who always had the ability, just needed a shot. Never was going to get one with the Cardinals because Cardinals had a very crowded outfield. Josh Lowe, another one that they found. They just know how to find good talent.
They do, yeah. They're one of the better organizations in doing that.
And with pitching, that's where they're strong at developing. Like, they don't really have to go get pitching. They always are churning out a new pitcher from their minor league system every other day.
Yep. I've always been
Give them a
impressed
lot
with
of
that.
credit.
Yeah, absolutely. I've always been impressed with that Shane McClanahan, I think his name is, or
McClanahan, yep.
is he hurt this year though?
No, he's healthy. I think you're thinking about Rasmussen, who got hurt.
Okay, yep.
And the other guy, Jeffrey Springs, also got hurt. He was dominating, and then he got hurt.
Oh, that stinks.
Yeah, what he was doing in the minors was insane. I mean, I guess if there's any, he's what is it, Tommy John, right? Yeah, he's gonna have Tommy John. So
that's a big blow.
Yep. I mean, it's messed up. You're gonna get a guy back from Tommy John with Glass now, and now you're losing someone to Tommy John.
Glass now, yeah, that's another guy that I completely forgot about. So he's finally healthy this year.
Yeah, he's in a rehab assignment, so he's coming back real soon.
Oh man, that's going to be scary. The Rays are
and
scary.
This was his last start, so he's going to return this week.
Yeah, they're scary this year. They're going to be. I think a lot of people I kind of expect the Yankees to get back into this thing, and I wouldn't be surprised if they still win the division, but the Rays are tough.
I will admit, I'm not entirely sure that they're going to be able to pull off the division. I do think the Yankees will at least get a wild card.
Yeah.
I think they'll get the 4 seed. If they don't get the division, I think they will get that 4 spot because I like Baltimore's team this year, but I also think that Baltimore needs pitching, and I don't necessarily trust that rotation's gonna get them where they need to. I do think they're very dangerous if they can add pitching, though. But they've got a lot of guys that are going through some growing pains still in that rotation, like Dean Kramer and Grayson Rodriguez. But the thing is that they have such a dominant bullpen. That's what it is their bullpen it's insane with Felix Batista and Yenier Cano. Like, it's especially that Cano guy. Cano is I think it's Yenier Cano. Yeah, this guy they got from Cuba. He's got like just insane numbers. He's got a 0.38 ERA, 23 innings pitched. He's only given up 7 hits. He hasn't walked the batter, and he has 26 strikeouts.
I swear Cuba has like some insane arms.
Yeah, they really do. I mean, they didn't get him from Cuba. They got him from the Twins. The Twins got him from Cuba, but
okay, I wasn't sure if he was like an international prospect.
He was, but he was on the Twins first, and
gotcha.
He wasn't doing good with the Twins. Like, he got called up last season, and he was struggling in his first time around in the big leagues, like really badly struggling. And the Orioles picked him up. He didn't even do good with the Orioles last year, but from what I heard, he had a good start with Norfolk and got called up, and now he's just probably the best reliever in the game this year. Like, he's probably the best relief pitcher in baseball so far this season.
That's definitely not Clay Holmes.
No, I think with Holmes, I'm at the point where I'm fine with him as a seventh or eighth inning guy, but he shouldn't be closing.
No, he shouldn't. Um, I'm off the Clay Holmes train when it comes to him as closer. I've always said like I thought he was a good setup guy. He could be a good setup guy because his stuff is insane. What comes out of his hand is pure filth. But
Oh yeah, the stuff is legit. I think it's just something mental. It's a mental thing with him.
yeah, because when Clay Holmes is dominating, some of his stretches kind of remind me of like the Zach Britton stretches that he had with the Orioles, especially his first half last year because
Yeah,
he's
I
got
see
that
that.
sinker.
I do see that for sure. The Zach Britton comp.
Yeah, it's. I think the Yankees have a good bullpen, but they just need to figure out the closer role.
Yeah, definitely. The closing role is a concern. The Yankees do not have a solidified closer. They have about like 7 different pitchers that have a save right now. I mean, it's
It's
unreal.
insane.
They have Holmes, Marinaccio, Wandy, King. I think even Albert Abreu might have a save.
Wow.
Ryan Weber has a save. It's like everyone in that bullpen has at least one save. I'll get the list now in a second. But it's ridiculous how many guys have a save because they're just kind of like they don't really have a true closer. So they've got it's Clay Holmes, Ron Marinaccio, Wandy Peralta, Michael King, Ian Hamilton, Ryan Weber, and Devi Garcia has a save.
Wow. And isn't he in the minors now?
Yeah, he came up, he pitched a game and went 3 innings, and they sent him right back down. He did okay. I mean, he gave up a home run, but he went 3 innings and only allowed a run, so he did fine.
My friend Frank said he was watching Devi Garcia pitch because he's got the minor league baseball package for the TV stuff. And he said he wasn't too impressed with him, but I think the thing with Devi Garcia is if you leave him in the bullpen, he could be a pretty good reliever.
Yeah, I think at this point he's got to be a reliever. I don't think he's a starter anymore.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
He's also
I
not really pitching that good in the minors this season. He's got a 4.09 ERA with a lot of walks.
Oh wow. But that's the thing with the Yankee system is like they really haven't developed anybody since Jordan Montgomery
Yep, that
and
was
Luis
the
Severino.
it was Monty. Yeah, Monty was the last pitcher because Sevy came up before Monty.
Yep. And Sevy's been hurt, but when he's on the mound, he's one of the best pitchers in the league, but he just gets hurt too much. I wish that I could see the guy pitch a full season like he did in his very early years with the Yankees. He seemed like he, was a durable starter early on, but then after pitching, was it like 180 to 190 innings back to back?
190, 2 years in a row. He won 190 innings.
Yeah, he was a workhorse for a while, but I don't know. I don't know what it is. That's the thing about injuries. You never know like what's causing these injuries.
No, I mean, started in 19. He had a few injuries. Almost missed that whole season. Came back and he did great. Then he had Tommy John in 2020. Almost didn't come back in 21, but he made it back by the end of the season. Last year he came back, did pretty good. I mean, he only won 100 innings, but when he pitched, he did great. The
Oh
thing
yeah, he
is,
was
what
good.
I will say is that I feel like this season, him coming back in May probably is for the best because I can't see him going back to 180 innings again. Like
Nah.
I think it's better that you get it out of the way now, and now you have him pretty much for the rest of the season.
But you know what the sad thing about it is? Isn't he going to be like a free agent next year?
Yeah, he is. And I don't like unless the Yankees can get him on a 1 year deal. I don't think I would bring him back on a multi-year contract.
Yeah, I don't think the Yankees will do that either. Um, it's just it's kind of disappointing because the Yankees don't really. If Severino walks, they don't have a lot in their farm system to really cover for that kind of loss.
No, they don't. That's the issue. Is that the Yankees are gonna if they don't re-sign Sevy, they're gonna have to go sign another pitcher because they're gonna
Oh yeah.
have next year. They're gonna have Cole, Rodon, and Nestor, and I think Herman will be under contract too. But I think I speak for a lot of fans when I say I'm not sure I want Herman back after the season.
I mean, this guy is an idiot. Like, what was he thinking? He uses the banned substance like once, right? And here's the thing, guys have been using this kind of substance for like the longest time since Whitey Ford and probably before him too. You know, but it's just like, dude, you did it twice, back to back.
And he got warned. Remember, he didn't get thrown out of that game, but they did warn him.
It reminds me of Michael Pineda.
Oh, yep, that's what I'm thinking. Pine tar. Yep, the pine tar incident.
Pine Tar
Never
Mike.
forget that. Yep. I couldn't believe that. That pine tar, and it was so obvious on the TV that there was something on his neck.
It's insane.
It really is, man. It really is insane. You
Hey,
really
do you
can't
think
make this
Cole
stuff
used
up.
that?
Sticky stuff?
Yeah, do you think he used spider tack? Like, because they never really caught him, but there's all these allegations against Garrett Cole, and they just never had like the proof, though.
I mean, it was kind of suspicious the way he answered the question about it. Like, I thought that was really suspicious. Like,
Yeah,
he was about to say something that would have incriminated himself. It wouldn't surprise me if he has used foreign substances. I also think the entire league there were a lot of guys doing it. Um, the good news is I could say ever since the crackdown, he did stop. Um, I don't know. Maybe he was, maybe he wasn't, but I can definitely say for sure he doesn't need it because he's one of
no,
the best pitchers in the game.
no, that's the thing. Yeah, the stats show like right after they cracked down on it, he was still getting pretty elite spin rate on his pitches even after the crackdown.
Yeah, it's hard to say. Like I said, um, he did struggle a little bit towards the end of the season, so that's a little suspicious, but could also just be a coincidence. I'm not gonna say he did it because we don't really have any proof, so I don't want it to seem like I'm accusing him of anything. There is no proof,
There really isn't.
but yeah, it's a lot of speculation, but there's no real solid evidence that proves beyond a reasonable doubt that he did it. So who knows? But one thing I could say is he's a reliable ace. I mean, he's going to give you a ton of innings, and he's going to give you an ERA in the low threes. He's what the Yankees need, in the front of the rotation.
Yeah, absolutely. He's like Roger Clemens. When I look
Yeah,
at it, Garrett Cole, he's kind of like Roger Clemens.
yeah. I just hope that the Yankees can win like they did with Roger Clemens with Garrett Cole.
Yep, that's true.
It's the only thing that's missing. The Yankees
Yeah,
won
I
a
mean,
lot with Clemens.
this, it seems like they put it together every single year. They have really good regular seasons. They make the playoffs. They got pretty far last year, but and you see them trying. They picked in recent years. They picked up Rizzo, and um, Matas was a pretty electric arm before we picked him up. But I think, I was speaking with my dad, and my dad said, they traded for him, and he was hurt, and the Athletics knew that.
Oh yeah, but the Yankees had to nope out of the trade if they knew.
Yeah,
Or if they were going to make the trade, they should have said we're not going to give as much.
yeah. Absolutely. At least we could have kept like Luis Medina. That's one guy that I would like to keep.
Or even Waldachuk.
Yep.
I know Waldachuk's struggling with Oakland, but you know, I mean, the arm is still he still has a really good arm, so who knows? I could see Waldachuk still turning things around. Like he's a young pitcher, so you know it's hard. It's hard when you're on a team that and you're going out there and you know you don't have a shot.
Yep.
Like I can't even fault Waldachuk for struggling. You're going out there pitching, and you pretty much know going into the game that you're probably going to lose.
Yeah, and
So it's a very challenging situation if you're if you're in Oakland.
absolutely. I think I think the same can be said about like Medina. I think he just needed a change of scenery. Because in the minors, like I get the Yankees' logic for wanting to move him because in the minors he just didn't have like really consistent control, and he never really put it together. But some guys just thrive at the big leagues.
Yeah, I also think it was a situation of he was running out of options. I think he was out of options, and basically the team was like, it was you had to call him up this year. You were going to risk losing him, and you were going to lose him on the waiver wire. Someone would have claimed him, so the best thing that they could have did was trade him.
Yep, absolutely.
So they had no choice. Like I always say with Medina, as much as I would have liked to have seen Medina, as much as I would have liked to have seen them give him Medina a chance, there was no way to do it with him out of options.
Yeah, and I look at Medina like if he can put together the control for a consistent season, for a full consistent season, he's got the stuff like Severino, but it's staying healthy as a starter and having consistent control.
100%. It really is. The stuff has never been the concern with Medina. It's always been control. He's never had good control. He's had a lot of issues with that in the minor leagues, and I just think the Yankees were like, we're trying to win now. We don't have the we just don't have the time to let this guy develop like that. So they were just like, no, like we're gonna lose this guy on the waiver wire for sure. Like he was gonna get claimed, and there was no way they could keep him. There was no way that they could keep him around. And I also think that while he could be in the major leagues now, he's the type of pitcher that because he still has things to work on. Yeah, he'll be in the bigs, but he won't be particularly that good. But a team like Oakland or a rebuilding team, you can afford to have him struggle now because you're not trying to win right now anyway. You're not really, you don't have the expectations to contend.
Exactly, and it's just that the Yankees were expected to win 99 games every single year, and they were a win now club. And Matas was an electric arm that they wanted to take a chance on, and it completely backfired on him.
Agreed.
Yep.
It was a win now move that just did not work out.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, it just seems like this team is just unlucky with acquiring starting pitching, except for maybe Cole, but
it's that they're not good with the mid-level guys. I think it's something going on in the organization where they're just not good at evaluating the rest of the rotation.
Yeah, because Gray's a guy that should have succeeded here.
Same with Paxton. Well, the thing is that they had a guy that would have been fine here, and they let him go with Lance Lynn.
Yeah. Yeah, he was actually pretty good for us in the playoffs and in the regular season, too. And he gives you innings.
100%. Like Lance Lynn, they should have kept Lance Lynn around. They should have never let Lynn walk. It should have been, I would have been just fine if they would have went that offseason and re-signed Lance Lynn instead of trading for Paxton.
I think a lot of Yankee fans, didn't appreciate Lance Lynn enough because there's something really underrated about him when it comes to like just giving you innings and staying healthy on the mound.
Yeah, he's a really underrated pitcher. I mean, I know he's struggling this year, but I also think that he probably just needs to get out of the White Sox.
Yeah.
Like he just needs to get off that team. I think Chicago's a disaster right now.
I would be open to a Lance Lynn reunion because I think he'll turn it around,
I
and
do
he's a
too,
guy that can
and
give you innings.
you'll get him for nothing with the season he's having right now. You'll get him for nothing. He'll be a bargain. He's gonna be for whoever gets him. He's gonna be a bargain.
Yep. I
Um,
think the price tag with just guys like Luis Castillo were just far too high, though.
they wanted Volpe. I think that was never gonna happen.
Yeah.
That was never gonna be a reality. The Yankees were not gonna give up Volpe for Castillo.
Yep. And here's the thing. Here's another thing. Do you think that the Yankees would have won the World Series with Castillo, though? Because it's really been the hitting.
No, they had too many injuries, and there wasn't. It was the hitting. They wouldn't have won last year with Castillo. I mean, it would. I'm sure the team would have benefited, but no, I don't think they would have won the World Series.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they definitely need to solidify that rotation this year, but I think what they could really benefit from this year is improving the offense. But,
I agree.
you know, it's going to be the only the only place you can really improve is another corner outfield spot because um, I'm wondering if they're going to play Stanton in the outfield.
Probably some of the times, but I think it's going to rotate. I think they'll rotate him in and out of DH and left field. They'll play some right when they don't want to use Judge or when they want to give Bader a day off.
It's going to be interesting because I'm wondering where the Yankees are going to go. Is it going to be like another like Benintendi type move, or is it going to be even a bigger time bat than that this year?
Um, as long as it's someone that can hit and plays a good left field, I'm fine with it. Even if it's a Benintendi,
Yeah.
like it doesn't have to be a superstar. It just has to be someone that can hit.
You brought up Michael Conforto.
Yeah, I think that would work. I think that would be a decent move.
Yeah, I think it could be a pretty good move too.
I mean, he's off to a slow start, but you got to remember he hasn't played in a while, so he's still probably trying to get it back. But he has started. He's kind of picked it up a little bit, and he does have 8 home runs. So it's not like he's been bad.
Yeah. I think Michael Conforto would be a pretty good move. I haven't really seen him like play the outfield too much. I don't know how he is as an outfielder, but you're really bringing him in for his bat, though. So.
He's okay. I mean, he's an okay outfielder. He did play a little center field, so he's not horrible by any means, but he's nothing like spectacular. But he's okay.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how this division pans out. I think I'm with you. I'm not too sure if we can pull it off and upset the Rays when it comes to this division. Um, I think if we get healthy, maybe, but I don't see Rodon ever being really that healthy, and us really getting the pitching staff that we envisioned back, and also um, it's going to take time to make impactful deals at the deadline. We're talking July, so we'll see what happens with the Yankees come that time. But what do you think about this division? Are you leaning more towards like a wild card, or I think you said that in
I
early
think a
on, but
wild card. Yeah, I think the wild card's a little more likely. I'm not saying they can't win the division, but it's going to be an uphill battle with how good the Rays started the year.
yeah, that's the thing. I mean, it's important to get off to a good start. A lot of people just kind of brush it off and say, it's still early. It's still early. Yeah, it is early, but like, when you get a lead like the Rays got, it really helps you. Like, Yankees got off to a historic start last year, and it really benefited them later on in the season because they could afford to lose all those games they did in the second half and still have the division.
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, that's what happened with the Yankees last year. They had a monster first half, and no one was able to catch them because of it. The Rays are doing the same thing.
And the Red Sox, I think the Red Sox need more starting pitching, just like the Baltimore Orioles do. So I don't think the Red Sox will catch us unless they get some starting pitching. But even then, are you really in love with their lineup though?
Red Sox, it's a good lineup, but I don't think it's good enough.
Yeah, I don't either. I'm with you. I like Yoshida. I like doing this year. Kind of reminds me of what Matsui did in his first year.
Yeah, I could see that. I definitely see the Matsui Cup.
Yeah, man, it's going to be interesting. The Yankees have a couple of things that they got to figure out in the bullpen. Maybe if they get another bat and a starting pitcher that can give them some innings, they'll finally be able to beat the Astros. I don't know though. The Astros got some real good arms, like Hunter Brown, and a lot of the guys that were really good last year are still good this year. None of them are having sophomore slumps.
I don't disagree. Yeah, it's going to be. They've got a good team. They're going to be tough to catch up to as far as talent goes.
I'm really impressed with this Hunter Brown guy.
He's the new kid that they called up, right? He's their top prospect.
Yeah, he's one of their top pitching prospects.
Yeah, I've heard he's really good. Hunter Brown.
Yeah.
I always mix him up with what's the guy? Bobby Miller. That's the Dodgers guy.
Yeah, and I think there might be another
getting called up. Yeah.
Yeah, and there might be another Hunter Brown that's a reliever too.
Think so.
But I forget. He's got explosive stuff though. He's got really really good stuff. The other Brown kid. But hey, Sean, it's been really nice talking with you. I would love to have you on again. And
thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem, man. And we'll talk again soon.
All right, man. Have a good night.
All right, you too. Bye.